What's going on, you guys? I hope you're enjoying your weekend. I'm not. I have a lot of stuff to do. I had totally planned on giving you guys a look at some really interesting animals that I've received over the past couple of weeks that I haven't shown you guys. I'm not going to get to that today, unfortunately. We're going to do that next weekend, and we're also going to give you like a show preview because the Pomona show is coming up the week after. I need to get these cages set up. I've been doing it little by little every weekend because I've got to feed a massive collection of animals, get everything ready for the Pomona show. I have racks full of babies, and I'm just doing so many things, you guys. I'm super busy. I'm way behind on photos. I know a lot of my customers are requesting photos of things. I don't want to sound like I'm blowing people off. I'm just really freaking busy. I have to spend every moment of every weekend and even after work to doing little bits and pieces to make everything work. It's really crazy right now, but you know what? 'Tis the season, right? It's baby season and everything's going on. So anyway, in lieu of doing a preview video this weekend, I'm going to give you guys a look at the presentation that I did a couple weeks ago for the San Diego Herpetological Society. Kind of talks about my beginnings and that, my humble beginnings, and kind of how I got to where I'm at right now. It's not the full presentation, but it is about almost 30 minutes, the first 30 minutes of that presentation. So I hope you guys enjoy that. And next weekend, we will come at you with a show preview, and I'm going to show you guys some really cool stuff that I know you're not going to want to miss. Enjoy the video. Okay, you guys, my name's Dan Larry. I don't expect everybody to know exactly who I am and what I'm all about. So this presentation is going to start from the very beginning. I dug deep into some old albums, and I had to take digital photos of some old photographs and just kind of paint the picture for you. I run DM Exotics with the help of my wife, Apple, and I think you guys kind of have a general idea of that side of it, but it has a beginning, and we can get started. And I know I'm going to hit the wrong button on this at some point. So, who's Dan Malary? 1978, age 7. That was my very first interaction with a snake. And we were on a camping trip, and I don't remember a lot of stuff from my childhood, but I remember this. My younger brother and I, who's not into reptiles, it's only me, and nobody in the family either, like this just came out of nowhere. Started with an interest in dinosaurs, and it went to insects, and it went to marine biology, and it just kind of took off from there. But we were at the Eel River, and there were water snakes everywhere. And I was like amazed, but I was totally apprehensive because I'd never had any exposure to a snake before. There was a lady, an older lady there, and my parents were like away, so like I'm just getting into my mischief, right? So she says, "Here, I can show you how to hold it, whatever." She picked it up by the head, and then she handed it to me, and I took it by the head, and now I got to show mom and dad. And so I ran, showed them what I had done, and my poor mom, and she's still around, and she took this picture. Good picture of me, but she cut off the snake. I feel bad for her because, like, this is huge because who would have thought that, this would be my life, So I guess it's kind of cool because I can put whatever I want over there, anacondas and all that stuff. But anyway, that was basically the pivotal moment in my life.
What happened to your hair?
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying, right? So that was my very first pet snake, not the same snake, the one at the Eel River I let go. This is a ribbon snake that I caught on a different camping trip. So next one, this was the class Go for Snake. The science teacher didn't want it anymore, and so put it out there to the class, and I was the first one there with mom and dad's permissions to take that thing home. And so that's kind of like where it all started. I started working at a local pet store when I was 14 years old. My mom would excuse me from school maybe about once every, maybe like 4 or 5 months or so, to go to the local importer, distributor, supplier place. So that was amazing because I would jump in the truck with the manager, and I would go to California Zoological Supply, way back, long time ago, when you could go into a place like that and you could see caiman and like all this, everything was legal back then, and it was just an amazing thing. And I would end up coming back with all kinds of reptiles. I would not get paid for months and months and months because it would all like go into the tab, and then they would just deduct it all from my pay. So that also continued to fuel the fire. Then I got a real job and just started using all of that money to do more stuff with reptiles. So this is probably maybe 90, maybe 95 or something like that, about 25 years old. I'm holding a retic, just a bare wild caught retic back in those days, but I had cages with all kinds of different stuff, and it was just kind of getting interesting. I did breed boas when I was 15 by accident, but this was obviously not when I was 15, but I was just breeding boas and doing different things with snakes. I bred green tree pythons probably when I was 28 or something like that. This was the first colubrids that I had bred, just Taiwan beauty rat snakes. Obviously I'm doing a lot more with colubrids nowadays, but that was, I think, the very first colubrids that I had bred. So I always thought that that was kind of cool. So then moving on, how did I become a business? So in 1996, I hatched a lot of carpet pythons. I think I had 3 clutches, and I ended up with like 50-something babies. And back in those days, we really didn't have the internet. We had the recycler, and we could put ads in the recycler and stuff. And then we had some expos, and that was cool, but I had a lot of surplus. I didn't really have the ability to move them. So my friend who managed Super Pets, which is now Petco, they got absorbed by Petco, but he was a manager at Super Pets, and they were liquidating their personal reptile collection, which was upstairs in the, like an attic or whatever. And so they invited me to go with them and do the Herp show. And you guys are in San Diego, so you guys probably, some of you remember the International Reptile Breeders Association, and they did the same concourse building. I think it was like a different building, but it was the same facility every October. It was the
Same building.
Yeah, same building. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so I did that in 1996, and then the very next year I liked it. I absorbed everything like a sponge when I did it with my friend, the load in, the load out, the procedure, everything, just so I could figure it out. So because I knew I'd be doing it by myself at some point. So the next year I had to get my resale license to become a vendor. And now I'm a business, and I have no idea what that means at the time, I'm doing taxes and all this nonsense. And so, anyway, I figured it all out. 9/11, 2001, I did the Herp show. Now, I had a real job, I'm getting mandatory overtime and all this other stuff, but I had already bought my tables. It was a really weird time. A lot of people don't, they weren't around for that, but that was really, really bizarre, and it really affected our economy, as those of you who lived through it know. And I sat there at that October Herp show, and I sold like 1 snake the whole weekend. Not many people showed up. It was empty the whole weekend. And we all just sat there looking at each other like, what's the future gonna hold here? So I was a little bit puzzled how I was gonna forge ahead. So by then, now the internet is around, and I did not have a website, and I thought, maybe the expos aren't the way. People are afraid to leave their houses, at least for right now. So let me get a website. Let me figure this out. So my younger brother had a friend. He built me a website, not the website I currently have, just kind of a real basic one. And then I started that way. So I started doing that, and then the economy started getting better, and then internet sales and shipping and all that kind of stuff. And I just kind of got really good at it, so I just continued on. At some point, it became time to break out. I felt like I was limited by kind of, that invisible ceiling. Like I needed to go somewhere, and I couldn't figure it out. So I started asking around about importing, because the people that I was buying from, Ben Siegel in Florida, other people in Florida, other entities and that, and I had a hard time getting to really, really good animals because I wasn't there. I was on the West Coast, and if I was local there, I probably would have been able to like really get all the cool stuff that I wanted. But I thought, maybe I can do this myself, because I want some good animals, I want some really good stuff. So I sent emails to everybody, and I knew what I was asking for was probably impossible, but I was asking, how do I do this? How do I become an importer? Who do I contact over there? And not one person responded to me. So I thought, okay, how's this gonna work? So 2003, I bought a plane ticket to Thailand. I just went by myself. I didn't know where I was going. All I knew was like, I was gonna be a tourist. I was gonna do some scuba diving. So I brought my scuba equipment. And I was gonna check out some markets and ask around and try to figure everything out. And then 2008, I mean, looking back, I was licensed as an importer, and I was operating, I was getting shipments, and it wasn't the greatest thing. I got mixed up with some people that were like mafia, because the animal business and the illegal trade kind of goes hand in hand. So wherever there's money to be made, you get that element of it. And I was mixed up in it, but I was kind of young and naive and kind of stupid in looking back at the things that I did and what I was getting myself involved in, but I was loving this stuff. The things that I was seeing, the things that I was doing, it was just, it was wild. It was really, really wild, that's all I can say. So I got some pictures of some animals that I took in Chatuchak Market in Bangkok. The market isn't what it used to be. The market is still there, it's still huge, there's still tons and tons of vendors. There's still an animal market, but it's not the illegal animal market it was back in the day when I started. There was amazing things in there. And I was traveling back and forth, trying to establish my business. A couple of years, I went back 4 times every year. Like every 3 months, I was flying over there. The TSA guys and the customs and immigration guys, when I would come back and forth and all that, they were like, man, you're going again? And they were getting to know me like really well. But the guys in the marketplace were also getting to know me really well. And they were realizing that I wasn't there to bust anybody. I wasn't some undercover like wildlife guy or whatever. I was a reptile guy, and I was looking to do business. So that monitor on the screen there, that is super rare from India. I've only seen 2 in my entire life. There's very, very few pictures of them, at least back in those days. Ranis fluorescens, and I mean, I was just like blown away. I posted this on the King Snake forum shortly thereafter, and I got chewed out because it triggered the wildlife authorities to saturate the market to try to find this monitor. So I got kind of chewed out. I got some random emails that say, hey man, realize that you're going over there and you're doing what you're doing, and they're letting you take pictures, like that's cool, because over there there's signs everywhere that say no photo. But they were letting me photograph everything, but they said, don't post that stuff, because this just happened. Nobody got caught. They had their lookouts like on all these different corners, and they just like pick up their cell phones and they go, all right, they're coming in, hide your stuff, and then they would hide stuff. The monkeys, the snow leopards, all that stuff that I saw, it was gone in a heartbeat. They knew exactly how to run it. This was another rare one, not like an endangered species or anything. This is Cerdadactylus chanhome. It's a Thai gecko, one of the bent-toed geckos. I've never seen any since this animal right here. And here's how the importing thing I had a really rough start, right? So I would go in there, and I would go, I want that, yeah, sure, I'll take those, and this and that. And then they would move those animals to Hong Kong. How? I don't know, but they would just magically make it into Hong Kong. Hong Kong would issue paperwork, and the exporter in Hong Kong would send me the boxes. But those animals would end up going to somebody else, like in France or some other animal dealer. And it just got really frustrating, it's like highest bidder or whatever. And again, I'm just trying to figure this out. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it, and I'm thinking this is normal and whatever. Finally, it just became ridiculous. The I'll show you more pictures before I tell you how it all ended. But so an anorthostic Burmese python. I've never seen those here in the trade. I saw it over there, but I just haven't seen them make it over here. I've seen the hypos and some other morphs and things. I thought that was pretty cool. And I dug deep for these photos. These are like old photos. This picture is not a big deal, but the story behind it is kind of a big deal to me. I would frequently get wined and dined by these guys, so they would take me out to dinner, beers and whatever. Not get me drunk and do stupid stuff, but we would go out and we would have meetings. And they wanted animals from me also. So they wanted sulcata tortoises. So we're having this discussion, and there was no tortoise on the table at the time. And he's trying to tell me that, if I remember it correctly, the people in Japan, they want sulcata tortoises, but it was something about the number of scoots across the back. I think 6 was an unlucky number. They wanted only ones with 5, something like that. I think that's what it was. So I'm trying to like comprehend it, and plus they're broken English and everything else. So the guy throws his keys to his daughter and says, go out to the car and get one of the radiated tortoises. I want to show Dan what I'm talking about. So the guy had like 1,000 radiated tortoises in the back of his car, like all in like low crates, and they were just stacked in the back of his car. And I'm like thinking, U.S. value, what the hell is going on? But he put the tortoise on the table, and then he told me this, he explained to me about that, and then I gave it a piece. I'm the one that gave it the watermelon off my plate, but it's just a weird story, just one of many things that I kind of went through. So I'm seeing all these animals for the first time, and I'm not a biologist. I don't know every animal. Fish, I know fish. I worked at a pet store, so I had like a lot of exposure to fish, and I had some aquariums and that. But I was seeing things from Borneo, from Burma, and these fish guys were telling me, these freshwater eels or freshwater morays and this and that, and the first ones ever to leave Borneo and whatever, and they're in the fish market, and I was just kind of blown away. And then I saw this. I've never seen this in my life, and I'm thinking coelacanth story, right? I'm thinking I just discovered some new animal like some fossil creature that is alive. Like, it just blew me away. But it's an Australian lungfish. They get really big. The guy told me about 2 meters they can get. And if you Google the Latin, there's people holding them. They're huge. But it was crazy. Like, I didn't, I'm just trying to figure this all out. It just tripped me out. The yellow spotted green tree toad from Malaysia. This was in a animal store, like a reptile store in the market, and I was blown away, not by the one on the top, but the one on the bottom. I was like, what is that? And and then fast forward a couple of years later, and I'm doing a show because I was able to import those toads, so it's kind of how it starts, I'm seeing them over there, and now I'm becoming like an importer, and I'm bringing them into the U.S., and it just kind of rocked from there. This is kind of an interesting picture that Apple took when she was my girlfriend. We went to visit my Malaysian supplier, and we're still super tight. That is my current supplier from Malaysia and his wife. They're still in business. Obviously, I'm still in business, and we're like family. When I go over there, I stay at their house. We're super tight with each other, really close. But this was like our first visit over there. We went to Cameron Highlands, and here's like the 2 kingpins. We're having big talks about how we're gonna take over the world, and it was just really crazy. But it's just funny, like, that all this stuff is alive and well, and it's just like the very beginnings of a lot of things that I'm doing now. And this is in his facility in Kuala Lumpur. It's not the same facility. He's changed it about 3 or 4 times now. It's pretty big now. But I would go over there and play with his vipers and that sort of thing. That's a Wagner's viper. From Malaysia, and I dropped Thailand. I didn't tell you that story. I went to Thailand after I had received like 2 or 3 shipments, and the shipments were garbage. Because what was happening was animals were going from Bangkok to Hong Kong. The animals were not in the greatest shape, and a lot of the dealers in Hong Kong don't care about their animals and then they would push extra animals into it, and those imports are always known for not being in really good condition. And I had paid for things in advance and all that. Went back to Bangkok, met with that guy, and he's like, don't worry, I'll make good, I'll pay you back your money, just come to the shop. Give me the wires that you sent so I know the money amount to pay you back. When I went in there and I sat down, I noticed a couple guys, young guys I'd never seen before, and they're like cleaning tanks, you know, they're just cleaning the same spot on the tanks, and they're not doing anything, and I'm already suspicious about what's going on. I'm kind of watching everybody. He says, sit down. So I sit down, and he goes, show me the bank receipts and how much money you've wired. I think at that point I had sent him a relatively small amount, I think less than $5,000. And the shipments that I had that arrived were not good. So like he owed me for a lot of that stuff. And he goes, okay, well here's what's going on with me. And he goes, you ordered these geckos, and I sent 2 collectors down to the south to collect these geckos, and they went into the national park. I didn't know any of this stuff. And it's probably BS, to be honest. Well, I actually proved it to not be true later, but he said they went into the national park, they got caught collecting your geckos, they went to jail. I had to pay money to the police to bribe them to get them to release the guys. So actually, you owe me this much money. And now I'm thinking, okay, now I know why you made me come down here. Like, this is the whole mess, right? So I was bigger than I was bigger then than I am now. And these guys are, these 2 guys I'm starting to figure out, they're there because they're little gangster guys, right? And they're just there. And so I thought, I gotta get the hell out of here. This little shop, I gotta get the hell out of here. So I kind of turned myself into, like, I had a posture, you know, and so I did like the Incredible Hulk thing. And, that's BS. You know, I'm coming back or whatever, and I'm looking at the young dudes, I'm backing my way out of the shop. I'm like, get out of here. So I just had to like really make it look good and turn it into like Manimal, you know, and I did. I went out, I slammed this door, and I turned the corner, and I was like, I gotta change hotels. I'm flying out of here in 2 days. They know where I'm staying. They send people to hotel, and so like I covered all my tracks. I moved to another hotel. I went home, and I had to really. I even called home. I'm like, hey man, I'm at this hotel right now. Last known place if something happens to me. Like really, like I was really unsure if I was gonna make it home. This was getting really scary. So I went home and I'm like, I don't know if this whole importing thing is for me, man. This is really crazy. This is very dangerous. And it sounds like I'm just making this up as I go, but I swear to you guys, I went through all this stuff and I did everything alone, and I know it was crazy. I can't believe I did it. But anyway, I went home and then I regrouped, and then that's how I found my way to Malaysia. And then now to this picture, I ended up being invited through my contacts in Malaysia. They invited me to participate at a reptile expo in Jakarta, in Indonesia. So they have reptile competitions there. If you guys watch any of my YouTube videos, we have various videos of it. The hobbyists there bring their animals and they do competitions. So I was invited to be a judge. So sitting on that panel, this is Michael Cole, the host from Python Hunters on Nat Geo. It's no longer on air, but so I'm sitting next to him. Didn't know him, I'm just somebody that got invited there. And the guy to my left is my current supplier now in Indonesia. But at the time I didn't know who he was. I had no idea. He was just a guy with a funny accent. And so now we're like super tight, like family. So that's how I met him. And it's just how everything kind of fell into place. The Malaysia supplier is solid, he's solid, and like now I'm just really well connected. So the guy that I was sitting next to, this is his farm. I don't know if you guys can hear. No, it's just music. So this is in Bogor. This is outside of Jakarta, and just showing a little bit of the traffic that's always there.
Scooters everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. And there's no advertising, it's just back there in the back somewhere. It's like an indiscriminate wall. There's a gate.
Drone footage.
Yeah. And like these are all outdoor pens. This is a holding facility. There's ponds. These are all like monitored breeding areas. This is all holding buildings. It's a pretty serious place. Most of those ponds are filled with fly river turtles and lots of different things. Yeah, just all kinds of crazy stuff. But it's really beautiful, and he has expanded since our last visit. So we're going to be returning at some point, and then I'll have to do more drone footage and more film of the new compound. And he like bought all the land next to his current place, and he's doing more, I think, outdoor pens, he told me. So it's a pretty major deal over there. And then, so that's how this all started, as being like an industry person, going from hobbyist to industry. And then during all my travels, this wasn't all business minded. I was there to also experience foreign stuff, you know? So I want to be a tourist also. I want to go do all this stuff. So did lots and lots of things. Herping, right? I want to see where all these animals live in the wild. I want to see what all this jungle and everything has to offer. This was a picture. We went to a wedding party. Apple was with me, still my girlfriend only at that time. And, you know, we had our little drinks at the wedding party, and we're headed home in the dark, and retic crossing the road, and that's why I'm dressed like that. And, you know, just one of the first retics that I caught. We spent lots of time in caves. Caves are super interesting, really foreign environment, and there's lots of really good stuff in caves. That happens to be Ridley Eye, a cave dwelling racer that we caught inside a cave. That kind of blew my mind the first time I did that, but we spent a lot of time in caves. It's not all about the reptiles. Hornbills have become like the most fascinating thing to me. I love hornbills, they're just so cool. So that was at like a bird park, but that was the first time I actually was able to like get, you know, up close and personal with one. Just even to this day, Apple knows. I'm like, oh, I want a hornbill so bad.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a spotted couscous. This is in Papua. Just all these animals. This is in the wild. Actually, it's not. This is a wild one that would come down to get the free food. And like I said, scuba diving. I went to Thailand the first time to do scuba diving, and then I had since done more trips with every visit over there. Just more mini diving, and then, you know, all the tourist activities, kayaking, and all that sort of thing is always fun. I don't do this anymore because I have since learned that riding on elephants like this is kind of cruel and inhumane, so we don't do it anymore. But in 2003, you know, I'm a tourist. I got to do it. I'm in Thailand, right? I got to ride the elephant. Now I know better now. The girls, you know, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with that. Muay Thai. I used to do a lot of Muay Thai fighting when I would go over there. So I would go over there and I'd be knocking down business. I would be eating the food, scuba diving, Muay Thai, just everything. I mean, I was really, that's living the dream. I mean, it was amazing. This probably, and I don't know how well you can see that, it's not that good quality, but with our Malaysia supplier, he wanted to take us collecting with his trappers. So we went out to this little tiny village, and we went out collecting, didn't really find so much. And when we got back to the little structures, I don't even want to call it a village, it was just a few little huts or whatever. And the little girl comes around the corner holding this gibbon, like her own baby. And it was, somehow I managed to get this picture. It was like a video camera, and I just hit the still photo capture and got like these low res pictures. But it was amazing. Like, I totally remember taking that picture. I think it's real cool. And I didn't only import reptiles, I imported Apple. And I'm just showing that picture because so many things have happened to me while, you know, traveling. It's really changed my life. It's just, you just never know. You know, you never know the path that this stuff takes you. Our most recent adventure to West Papua, some of you have already watched it, but this is just a little teaser of the videos that we have on YouTube. And I think you guys can figure out why I'm fascinated with this place, because it's heaven on earth. It's crazy. The reefs are there, the jungle's there, people are really cool. Reptiles are all there, all the reptiles that I know and love, you know, it's hornbills, everything, it's all there. It's just an amazing place. The tourists aren't there. That's also like a huge plus. It's not easy to get to, but that's why there's no tourists there, because it's very far. And that's the Alberts, the northern white-lipped python that we saw, caught it on our last trip. These videos are all on the channel if you want to watch this stuff. Viper boa, big scrub python.